how every football legend's career ended. Every football legend eventually plays their final match. Some walk away as champions, lifted onto the shoulders of grateful fans. Others are stopped by injuries that break their hearts before their bodies even give up. A few simply fade from the spotlight, far from the crowds who once adored them. This is the story of 10 legends and 10 very different final chapters. Some of these endings will make you smile. Others will break your heart. All of them changed football forever. Let us begin with the man the world simply called the King. Pele! Nobody in New Jersey expected to witness football history that night in 1977. Pele had already conquered Brazil with Santos, the club that made him a global icon. But his very last match was played wearing a different shirt entirely, that of the New York Cosmos. For one unforgettable evening, the rules of football seemed to bend for him. He played the first half in Cosmos colors, then changed shirts at halftime to wear Santos again. Fans and opponents alike simply wanted one final look at the man who redefined the sport. There was no injury, no scandal, only a global celebration built for a living legend. His farewell became one of the most joyful goodbyes football has ever seen. The next legend's ending would be remembered for entirely different reasons. Zinedine Zidane. The world expected a fairy tale finish, and for a while, it looked like one. Zinedine Zidane walked into the 2006 World Cup final already knowing this would be his last match. Everything was building toward the perfect ending for one of football's greatest midfielders. Then, deep into extra time, everything changed in a single instant. Zidane headbutted Marco Materazzi in the chest, and the referee reached for a red card. The stadium fell into stunned silence as television cameras replayed the moment again and again. France went on to lose the final to Italy on penalties. One of football's greatest careers ended not with a trophy, but with a long walk past it. Fans still argue about that tunnel confrontation to this day. The next legend's own body would betray him in a very different way. Ronaldo Nazario. Every comeback made the football world believe he could conquer absolutely anything. Ronaldo Nazario terrified defenders with a combination of speed and skill nobody had seen before. He seemed capable of overcoming any setback, no matter how severe. But knee injuries chased him relentlessly, forcing operation after operation and recovery after recovery. By 2011, playing for Corinthians back home in Brazil, his body began breaking down once more. This time, hypothyroidism made it nearly impossible for him to stay in fighting shape. At an emotional press conference, he finally admitted that his playing days were over. He did not hide his tears in front of the cameras. The man once thought unstoppable had simply run out of comebacks. The next legend, though, would leave the pitch with his head held high, tears and all. David Beckham. The cameras had followed him for almost his entire career. This time, they captured something the world had rarely seen from him before. David Beckham's final professional chapter unfolded in Paris, with Paris Saint-Germain, in 2013. His team had already secured the French league title before his very last match arrived. When the substitution board finally lit up with his number, his teammates gathered around him on the pitch. Beckham, a man known worldwide for his composure, could not hold back his emotions. For a player famous for staying calm under pressure, that final walk revealed exactly how much the game had meant to him. His farewell marked the end of an unforgettable era in English football. But another legend would leave the game in a completely different way. Paolo Maldini. Some legends eventually leave their boyhood club behind. Paolo Maldini never did. For more than 20 years, he wore only one shirt, that of AC Milan, and no other. He retired in 2009 at 41 years old, still performing at an elite defensive level. His final home match at the San Siro turned into a full stadium tribute, with fans holding banners and singing his name. An entire generation said goodbye to a man who represented loyalty in an era of ever-growing transfers. Maldini did not chase glory elsewhere in his final seasons. He left exactly as he arrived, entirely and permanently a Milan man. The next legend's story would feel much quieter by comparison. Ronaldinho. The smile that once lit up football slowly faded from the world's biggest stages. Ronaldinho's dazzling years at Barcelona felt worlds away from the player who eventually retired. After leaving Europe behind, he kept playing in Brazil and later in Mexico, chasing the same joy that had once made him unstoppable. In 2018, he quietly confirmed his retirement, years after his true magic had already disappeared from view. There was no emotional farewell match at Camp Nou and no global send-off. Just a soft exit, far removed from the fame that once surrounded him. His ending felt gentler than the football he once played. But the next story would look nothing like his gentle exit. Francesco Totti. One city, one club, and one impossible goodbye defined an entire career. Francesco Totti stayed loyal to Roma despite offers from some of Europe's biggest and richest clubs. In 2017, he played his final match at the Stadio Olimpico, in front of the fans who had watched him grow up. As the final whistle approached, the entire stadium rose to its feet in tribute. What followed became one of football's most iconic farewell moments ever recorded. Totti broke down in tears during his retirement speech, struggling to find the right words. His story was never really about trophies. It was about a bond between one man and one city that never truly broke. The next legend's farewell would carry a completely different kind of energy. Zlatan Ibrahimović. Even his goodbye carried unmistakable confidence and swagger. Zlatan Ibrahimović played football unlike almost anyone else of his generation. After stops across Europe and a spell in the United States, he returned to AC Milan for one final run. Serious knee injuries gradually slowed him down through his late 30s and into his 40s. In 2023, he announced his retirement in an emotional speech at the San Siro in front of fans who adored him. Even in that vulnerable moment, he remained exactly who he had always been. His body finally gave up. His personality never did. The next legend's ending, by contrast, happened far away from any cameras at all. Andrés Iniesta. One unforgettable goal in South Africa made him immortal in football history. Yet Andrés Iniesta's career ending looked nothing like that legendary night in 2010. After winning nearly everything possible with Barcelona, he moved to Vissel Kobe in Japan. He later continued his career in the United Arab Emirates, joining Emirates Club for his final seasons. Iniesta officially retired in 2023, closing a career built on elegance, patience, and vision. His final years unfolded far from Europe's loudest and biggest stages. Still, he kept playing the game he loved until the very end. But the final story here would not be about choosing an ending at all. Iker Casillas, a World Cup winner's career, did not end on the pitch. It ended in a hospital room. Iker Casillas, Real Madrid's legendary goalkeeper, suffered a heart attack while training with his club Porto in 2019. For a terrifying moment, nobody knew whether football's most decorated goalkeeper would even survive. He did survive, but the frightening incident changed the direction of his entire life. After a long period of uncertainty about his future, Casillas officially confirmed his retirement in 2020. There was no final save and no farewell match in front of adoring fans. Instead, his career closed with a stark reminder that even legends remain human beings first. It became the most sobering ending among all 10 stories told here. Final thoughts. 10 legends and 10 completely different endings shaped the history of this sport. Some left with trophies raised high above their heads. Others left with heartbreak, their bodies failing long before their talent ever did. A few never received the farewell their careers truly deserved. Yet one truth remains the same across every single story. True legends are remembered long after their final whistle has been blown. Their impact continues shaping the game long after they walk away from it. Which of these 10 retirements affected you the most deeply?